Hello again. I want to talk to you about joint ventures now. Before I do that, let's go back and look at licensing for 2 seconds. Licensing is an arm's length transaction. If Mr. Dog here, our industrialist, wants to acquire a technology from a university, even if it's somewhat immature, he licenses the technology. The inventor here, Dr. Goose, Mr. Dog may think that Dr. Goose is a silly goose, but it doesn't matter because once they shake hands, the technology moves. They go their separate ways. That's all that matters. As long as the royalty payments are paid. In a joint venture, it's different. You're forming a new entity. It's kind of like making a platypus. And this platypus is neither a mammal nor bird, rather it's something else. And that's why cultural compatibility, management commitment to define what the joint venture does very clearly and to work on the cultural compatibility is very important for the success of the joint venture. If you don't do that, you're likely to fail. When we think about the synergy aspects of joint ventures, what are we saying? Well, typically both parties have some capabilities along the Porter's value chain. That means all the activities necessary to run a business. They're bringing some, one may have more strength in research and development, the other in manufacturing or whatever, or they may have equivalent capabilities. Sometimes you'll see in very immature industries where there's projects that cost a lot of money to bring to market. Two companies may join and do it as a joint venture, even though they're normally competitors, and then they will both use the results and maybe even out-license it to others. Anyways, it makes sense, if you think about it, to only do a joint venture when the technology is at a prototype or above level of maturity. Why? You want to control the risk, and if you're going to work together, you want to at least minimize the technical risk and have some reasonable expectation that you'll actually be able to get something to market, because the transactional costs, the management time that I mentioned before and all this, are much higher than in a licensing deal. Given that, control becomes a much bigger issue. You know, the second you put two scientists or engineers in the room, they're going to talk, and they are not going to be as sensitive to what is proprietary and what is not than, say, a lawyer will be. So there is going to be leakage of knowledge and know-how in a joint venture, and you have to plan for that. Another issue in a joint venture is the income comes out differently. In a licensing deal, you're just getting, in effect, passive income. In a joint venture, you have to work for that income. You're getting it as a return on equity, a return on the investment you make in the joint venture, although you can also sometimes have licensing income as well from a joint venture that you're a member of. Which is to say that in both the value side and the cost side, each party in the joint venture is contributing something to handle the costs, doing some of the work. They're bearing part of those costs, although they may put cash into the joint venture to get it started to cover those costs. And on the value side, they are each contributing something that creates value in the final product. And when we look at where the dominant design has to be in joint ventures, well, obviously, where in licensing you might say, this appears to be emerging, I'm going to license something in case it does emerge, or I'm hedging my bets by licensing. In a joint venture, because of the higher transaction costs, you want that to have already emerged. So you're typically looking, rather than embryonic markets, at growth or shakeout markets, where in a growth market everybody's trying to get in quickly. In a shakeout market, joint ventures sometimes occur as people try to consolidate to survive, or sometimes, as I indicated before, even in a mature market where projects have very high costs, joint ventures may occur. Well, one final thought before we stop. In a joint venture, the components of the contribution that each party makes are different. And what's important to focus on is not the cost, but the value created. When we did our licensing example and we looked at the formula, we were talking about the incremental value from more product sales or the incremental value from cutting costs, not absolute costs. Costs are basically irrelevant. Those are not really how deals are done. Deals are focused on value creation. Now, you may be concerned about all the risks in the value creation, but the key is to do the deal based upon the value that each party is contributing to the deal. So in a joint venture situation, you have to figure out what everybody's bringing in and what they're contributing, and that's how you divide up the value. And then you can use side payments. Somebody can say, well, I'll throw more cash in to cover something in exchange for a bigger piece of equity, and so on. So that's joint ventures. When we come back, we'll look at another deal vehicle. Bye.